Good morning, everybody. This is Brett Zockman, Zach, founder of Beamin, and we are here Friday for another version of Facebook Live. We're in the studio of Danny's, man, and we're happy to be here. Thanks, brother. And sitting to my right, you know him, the man, the legend. Now, I can't talk him up too much because he just doesn't like that, folks. But let me just break this down a little bit. I'm not going to steal all this thunder, but I'm going to steal a strike of lightning. So last night, we were at the Man Map launching, and you and I got to meet a hero of ours, right?
We did.
So we got to meet Mark Schlereth.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know anything about Mark is the voice of the fan. Mark is a former Denver Bronco, an NFL player, a Super Bowl champion, one of the Hogs back in the day on the Washington Redskins. Like, this guy is, you know, a celebrity. Well, guess what? This guy right here, I just confirmed this morning, is a 7th degree black belt, which I already knew, and many of you may already know this, but that makes him 1% out of millions who are in the martial arts world. So Mark doesn't really have much on you.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what. But he's got the rings. He's got the rings.
So you're a Super Bowl champion in the world of martial arts, right?
Yeah. I guess that would be true. Thank you.
Beautiful. So as we get started here this morning, I just wanted to ask you, why are you, a guy like you, all these accolades, everything you've done, the mentorship, why are you a part of Beamin?
Well, I just think it's one of the more important things we can do right now. I think that there is a real need for us to promote healthy masculinity. I think that we have an image in our society what masculinity is, and it's oftentimes the macho, rough and tough guy that never asked for help and that is about dominance versus being powerful. And we've had this discussion before, the distinction between being in our power versus being forceful. And I just think there's a need. And I do a lot of speaking with youth as well. And that's where I also see a huge development gap because those young kids don't have those role models anymore. And the men who are grown, they don't have a place that they feel safe to really deal with what's going on. So I just believe that when we are able to empower people to the best that we can, we raise everyone up.
Yeah,
so that's basically the reason I'm
See,
here.
And that's brilliant. And I think I admitted to you, I confessed to you the first time I ever met you, like I knew you from others, but then we finally met.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, no offense, it was kind of wah, wah, wah. Because, it was like, I was expecting, like, I don't know, combination of Bruce Lee, combination of everything I've seen in Hollywood. Yeah. And then I'm like, dude, you are the most zen, calm, cool, collected. Like, I jokingly told somebody last night, I'm like, look, he's like the walking, talking version, Caucasian form of Mr. Miyagi.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. I'll take that as a compliment.
For those of you who, I'm dating myself, there was this movie called The Karate Kid.
That's true. Yeah, I was there too.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
So this morning we're here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, man. Especially with you. The performance you've done, the venues you've been in, what you've done your whole life with martial arts, and now we're going to talk about mental toughness.
Right.
Like, that's just perfect.
Exactly.
So to you, what is mental toughness?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's obviously different for everyone, but in this concept of martial arts, and particularly in my life, it's about us being able to show up consistently, time after time after time. I mean, there are times in our lives when we need to show up really strong in one particular instance, but I think it's the sustainability. And we have a concept in Korean martial arts. I'm a Taekwondo master, and so in Taekwondo and in Korean martial arts, we have a concept called Pilsung. And Pilsung means certain victory. So what that means, and in fact, when we bow, we make that affirmation to each other, Pilsung, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's about this constant affirmation. Now, that means different things in different situations. It's not just about busting through everything in our way. It also is about being discerning and knowing when to use our power, when not to, but it's about showing up. And when you think about it, those are the men that really are the most powerful, that just keep showing up.
Yeah, that perseverance,
right? Yeah, no doubt.
And gentlemen, so to remind you what he's talking about, and this is a master. I mean, I should refer to you as Master Natzke, right? If we were at a dojo on the floor. So this is a master, and Beamin's, our definition, so you've heard of our group, right? Brotherhood of Extraordinary Men. So what's extraordinary? And what we say is, hey, that's about doing the ordinary over and over and over and over again until it becomes extraordinary.
Exactly. That's
because we've tamped down men, right? If you woke up this morning, that didn't count. Oh, you hugged the wife, well, that's not really on the scoreboard. Oh, you loved your kids. It's this quantum leap stuff.
Right, exactly. So, well, as I teach my students and I work with my coaching clients, tremendous results happen through consistent effort. constant effort
love
day in
that.
day. And we have a saying in martial arts that a black belt is a white belt that never quit.
Oh, see, I love
You know?
that.
Yeah.
I
And-
love that.
yeah.
Now, do you actually believe that?
Oh,
or
I
is this
totally
just
believe
that
that.
kind of
No,
that Hollywood phrase?
I
that-
totally believe it because I'll give you my own personal experience. I have about 1,000 students that I promoted
awesome.
to black belt in the last 20 years.
Wait, 1,000 to
1,000,
black belt?
yeah, to black belt,
So how
yeah.
many total? Because
Well,
black belt is pretty
That's
tough,
just, you
right?
know, that's probably about 20% of the student base. So it
Okay.
does take, and I might be overstating that as well. But the fact of the matter is I can only think of 2 students, Zach, when they came to me. First time they stepped into the studio that they had all the attributes to make it a black belt.
Oh, so like you knew.
Yeah, I
Okay,
knew.
this
I was like,
dude-
they got it, you know, flexibility, speed, power, focus, all that kind of stuff. Only 2, not 2%,
Out of
2.
thousands.
Right. And the fact of the matter is the ones that eventually made it, that other 998, they just kept showing up.
and you
they just
couldn't
get-
judge them by the book.
No, in fact, what you have to do, and we were talking about this too, is as an instructor and as a leader, is we have to continuously see the greatness in people and have them live up to that. You know, that's what my instructor did for me.
Now, you have a kind of a poignant moment.
Yeah, I
that
do.
kind of leads
I
into
do.
my next question. You
Yeah.
know, I set up these questions, and I was thinking, you know, okay, so becoming a part of the martial arts community and the idea of mental toughness, like, what happened in that for you? And I'll let
Yeah.
you. I don't want to tell this story
Yeah.
for him. And I
Well,
know
one of
you've
the-
got it's
Well, it's my signature story, you know,
Right.
and anytime I do a keynote, I share this story. And I was absolutely blessed to, and still do, have an amazing master instructor in my own right. You know, we all have instructors, right?
Right.
And so my instructor is Grandmaster J.K. Lee. I have 2 men, and the other one is Bill Superfoot Wallace, who's a world kickboxing champion. And so
sweet.
those 2 men are my instructors. But Grandmaster Lee was really my father as I was growing up. He was my father figure.
Right.
And I had already been training about 3 years when he had moved from Korea. And I was in one of his classes for the very first time, and I was in the back of the room stretching, had my legs spread wide.
Yeah.
And he walked onto the mat, and what was so amazing about him is, for me, he was the first time I ever got to see role modeled amazing power and presence with amazing kindness and heart. I mean, he just has, I mean,
love that.
total badass. And you'd sit down with him and you just feel him connect with you. And the interesting part about it is his English was very poor.
That's
but
it.
I could always understand him because he connected with me on a heart level,
Oh,
right?
that's awesome.
So I'm in the class for the first time. My legs are spread wide. He walks onto the mat. He's surveying all the students. And all of a sudden I realize he's staring directly at me.
Oh boy.
So I can't move, right? He walks over to me and he sits down in front of me.
Okay.
And he puts his right foot on the inside of one leg, his left foot on the inside of the other. He grabs the end of my belt and with one push-pull, splits me out to 180 degrees, right? And so that'll get your attention.
Yeah.
And, but as I joke, you know, I learned 2 things that morning. Number 1 is anyone can do the splits one time, right? But the second thing is the most poignant moment is when he looked me in the eyes and he said to me in his broken English, he said, "I will make you a champion. I will make you a champion." Now, when you're 13, man, all you think about is medals and trophies, and I glided home.
Sure, right.
But
The
what I
ego.
realized over time is that he meant about being a champion in life.
Ah.
And, you know, through his example, I've really taken that on as my responsibility as I'm teaching as well. That's the torch that I carry
Okay.
because that was given to me.
Uh-huh.
And he also told me one time, we have a Korean word to name a martial, name an instructor. So
Okay.
in Japanese, it would be called sensei, right?
Yeah,
But
okay.
in Korean terminology, it's called sabum nim.
Okay.
Sabum nim. And he and I were one time just talking, just the 2 of us, and I was already a junior black belt. I was 14 years old, and I said to him, I said, "Sir, what does sabum nim mean?"
Yeah.
Totally knowing what the answer was.
Okay. So
And
you asked the question.
I asked the
already knew
question
answer.
knowing the
Okay.
answer, but I think kids do that sometimes. And he looked at me and he said, "Sabum nim means father."
Was that the answer you were
direct.
expecting?
Yeah, wasn't expecting, but hit direct
Yeah.
hit to the heart.
Wow.
Because I was like, wow, he's making that stand for me. He's not trying to replace my dad,
Right.
but he's making that stand for me. And what I got from that is if you're going to be a teacher, you need to take that same stand. So that's what I tried to do.
So you bear that responsibility,
Absolutely.
right?
And it's one that I welcome. You know, it's not even bearing a responsibility, you know, is not even a word I was using.
Okay.
I'm blessed by that responsibility.
Okay.
Because of
Beautiful.
the tens of thousands of students I've been able to interact with. And
Yeah.
if I've been able to just touch a few and make that difference that was made in my life, then I've done my job.
There you go.
Yeah.
So did you know? I mean, now if I'm following the math there, you were 13 when he
Yep,
split you.
yep.
And by 14,
Yeah.
so that's 365 days
Yeah,
later, you're
yeah.
a junior black belt?
Well, no. So let me. I had started 3 years before he had
Okay,
come to the
okay.
country. So I'd
All
already
right,
been training
all
for
right.
3 years. Then I trained a year with him to get I got my black belt, and then I've tested with him every belt since then. So, and that was in 1977 when I got my first true black belt. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when we talk about mental toughness, tell me about kind of the tapestry that interweaves between martial arts and mental toughness.
Yeah.
Because of course, to the men in our community, the men who are not in our community, you know, Hollywood is great for entertainment, and maybe it stops right there.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing that's great about martial arts is you create a atmosphere where that Pilsung philosophy, it's just interwoven. I mean, we talk it all the time.
Right.
But we've also created a container of where that is. We were talking this before we came on camera. We hold people capable to how great they can be. Just like Grandmaster Lee did for me, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're holding someone capable, you're rubbing shoulders with people who are believing in you, and it starts to become part of the norm, right? And then the other thing that I think really translates well into life, and I think this is where most people fall short in terms of mental toughness, they rely too much on their will. Like, I'm going to do this, and that's all they do. It's just a mental thing. They don't set up the systems and the behaviors and the habits around them to sustain that. See? So now when they get up against it and they're distracted, or they want to have that beer if they stop drinking, or they want to have that extra cheeseburger or whatever, they haven't set up the structure to have them go, no, I'm not going to do that. And because what ends up happening is then they get off course. And once they get off course, then they feel bad. And so it's not that people don't have strong wills, they just don't have good habits set up.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
Because now what you're talking about, can anybody learn that?
Anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. And the fact of the matter is most people that we think are the highest of performers, that's what they've mastered. Many times, like I could think about a bunch of black belt students, myself included, weren't the greatest athletes out of the gate, but they just kept showing up.
Right.
And what happens is it grows exponentially. I'm reading a book right now called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay, I love the book. And what he says in there is, just 1% of an increase in our performance per day over a course of a year, you'd be 34 times greater than the start, right?
Yeah.
And then you think, well, what if I do that?
In only a year.
In only a year, 34 times greater. Now, if you extrapolate that to 2 years, some might think, well, I'd be 74 times greater. Well, you know, you're a finance guy, compound interest, right? It's 1,400 times greater.
1,400?
Just 1% better.
Wow.
And if you extrapolate that out to 5 years, you're 72 million times better, right?
I love that.
So think about that.
Hey, I'm a numbers guy.
You're a numbers guy.
You're a millionaire.
So the fact of the matter is that self-discipline and mental toughness comes from doing those small things every day and setting up a system and then a support system around you that holds you up as well.
See, I like that, because otherwise, I think this is what we do, especially as men. Women, I don't know about you. I'm still trying to figure it all out. You're amazing creatures. We love you. We have wonderful women, over like 150 of you in our community. But we're just talking about the men this morning. You know, egos with men get in the way so many times. I can even remember the first time I met you. I'd heard great things about you, so I think I kind of knew a little bit what to expect, but still my ego shrank back. I'm like, this is like the Mark Schlereth of the martial arts world, you know, and you're up here and I'm down here and my ego's all insecure. But that was because I was thinking, okay, well, your mind is a better mind than mine. And what you're saying is our minds are the same.
Totally.
And then we could learn
a
learned skill set, right? Because if my gray matter is just not as good as your gray matter, I'm screwed.
Right. Totally.
For the rest of my 50 years on the planet.
That's right. And the fact of the matter is I deal with all this stuff on a daily basis too.
Wait.
You know?
So, all right, you heard it here live. True confessions, right?
Absolutely.
7th degree black belt, right? You've done all that work and you've trained thousands. That led to 1,000 others becoming at least a black belt or above. And you're telling me you still have to do the system,
every day,
the structure.
Every day I've got to do it every day. And you know, one of the things I think that's really important is when we do slip up, and we all will because we're human, is that we have to make sure we give ourselves a break. And it's like if you miss a day on one of your activities, you miss a day. Just don't miss 2 days.
Right?
There you go. Just don't miss 2 days.
So a little bit of grace and mercy to self.
Oh my gosh, you know, and the fact of the matter is, I think that's what gets men in trouble, is we hold ourselves to the standard, and we think that we have to be absolutely perfect in what we do and no mistakes at all. And one of the most important parts, I think, in terms of mental toughness is knowing when to break through and knowing when to ask for help. And that's where most men don't do it.
Do you guys teach that in martial arts?
We do, and we also do this is we teach empathy as well.
Okay.
So I'll give you a little bit of background on what I do with all my black belts. All of my black belts, from kids, junior black belts, 10 years old. My oldest black belt, I think, is 73 years old. Yeah. And they all have to train for a minimum of 3 years to get to that level. And then the 4 months prior to their test, they have some pretty dramatic stuff they have to go through.
Okay.
Physically, they have to do 4,000 push-ups and 4,000 crunches in 4 months. They have to run 40 miles, spar 120 rounds. So it's very physically demanding, particularly when you're looking at some younger people or some older people too. But here's what I love: we have them. They have to do 400 random acts of kindness, and they're all recorded. Yeah, 400 random acts of kindness.
See, now I wouldn't have. That.
Well, it's a program that we've developed, and so and I'm super proud of it. And here's the deal: well, the kids only have to do 300, but they have to do 100 home chores. So parents love me, right? but we have over 250,000 random acts of kindness logged since 10, 12 years ago. So what happens is when you're doing those acts of kindness, you have to be aware of what's going on out there because you got to find like 3 a day. So you start opening up, but it also gives you permission to ask as well. I teach that to the students. They also have to mentor someone for 10 sessions. They have to eat clean for an entire week. So no processed foods, no sugars, no alcohol. Getting 10-year-olds off beer is tough, but we make it happen. But the other one that I absolutely love is they have to spend a day either being blind, deaf, mute, or in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
And so when
now
you
we're
start,
teaching empathy,
when you're teaching empathy, and when you start to do that, now what happens is it opens everything up. Because I know that majority of students aren't going to train in martial arts for the remainder of their lives, but I want them to have that experience, get to black belt, so now they can carry that skill with them. And whether they got their black belt when they were 14 and now they're 24, they still have that etched inside of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, I wish we could talk all day.
Okay.
But we're coming to a close, so to kind of wrap that up, I mean, Chris answered all my questions, and I think I only had to ask one. So, but I think the biggest thing is you dispelled the myth, right?
Yeah.
That was the big thing that we wanted to do today was what's the myth? And I think the myth, the lie, is that you're better than I am in this comparison game, and the ego, and your gray matter is better than my gray matter. Right. And really, gentlemen, if you were listening carefully as I was, because this is a master, it's the daily disciplines. Like we joke around about why do we brush our teeth every day? Well, I don't know. Do you want to have teeth when you're 60 or 70? You know, why do we shower every day?
That's right.
We don't want to smell like animals.
Exactly.
So same thing here, daily disciplines. So that's what we're talking about. This whole interview and all these interviews on Friday here live is building us up for June 29th, the 5 Pillars of Male Wellness. And it is about that, gentlemen. If Master Natzke can do it and he can teach thousands to do it, and then maybe even I can do it, you can do it, we can all do it, right? Yeah. And we can simplify. That's my word for 2019 for myself with Beam In, is simplify. The 5 pillars of male wellness. It's talking about your emotional, financial, mental, physical, and spiritual health. And we've got a couple of other events coming up that I've got to plug before we say goodbye today. Last night, the launch party, man, it was off the chain. My underwear are seriously on fire. So we've got an event coming up. It's going to be May 16th. It's going to be Thursday. It's going to be at the Inverness Hotel. We've got KYGO. We've got Cozy. We've got The Fan. We've got Mark Schlereth. We've got Nami. We've got Jason Hopkins. We've got 3 gentlemen that are going to walk through surviving and thriving, right, as a man today. And even before that, we've got Wednesday coming up, the launch of Beers, Bros, and Bucks here in the Denver metro area. We've already been doing it in the spring, so you got to come out to that. 6 to 8 p.m., Rock Bottom Brewery near Park Meadows. Guys, if you need to know what this is about, think like happy hour with a purpose. So, thanks for being with us today. Be extraordinary.